Как я уже сказала, это большой показатель того, насколько большую роль играет образование в мире, в стране и в жизни каждого из нас. Она присуждается за вклад в сферу образования и науки. И мы надеемся, что с каждым годом у нас в Казахстане таких наград будет становиться все больше и больше. Now we move on to a critical discussion that directly impacts the growth of teacher in our educational system. Дорогие друзья, я спешу сообщить, что буквально через несколько минут после замечательного ролика, который вы увидите на экранах, мы объявим пленарное заседание, пленарную сессию, на которой вы сможете послушать дискуссии наших уважаемых учителей и людей, которые вложили, которым неравнодушна сфера образования, которые вложили вклад, сделали определенный вклад в эту сферу. Большое спасибо. Давайте обратим внимание на экраны и просмотрим ролик.
I got something I gotta tell you, so get ready for another breakthrough. So let me show you what I mean. What I got is the new thing. Listen up, I'm gonna say it all right now. Cause I just gotta let you know it's better than ever. Have you heard the word? It's better than ever. Tell the world, spread the word. You ain't seen nothing yet. It's true what you heard. It's better than ever. Cause you ain't ever seen what you about to see. Better than ever, better than ever. Yeah. Better than ever, better than ever. Yeah.
Первый университет быстрых профессий представляет кейс новой книги Филиппа Котлера «Стратегический партнер Nobel Fest. Диплом от профессора Гарварда. Как стать лидером своей жизни. Как развить свой личный бренд».
Грамотный разработчик умеет.
В современном маркетинге ты должен уметь
2 направления, 6 программ. IT, фронтенд, бэкенд, блокчейн, маркетинг, диджитал, медиа, креатив. Знания от успешных практиков, стажировка в крупнейших компаниях СНГ, 100% трудоустройство, ориентир на перспективу, то, что нужно каждому в современной реальности.
Әуезов университеті Қазақстанның жоғары оқу орындарының көшбасшысы. 80 жылдық тарихы барысында бәсекеге қабілетті мамандарды даярлау дәстүрі қалыптасқан. Бүгінгі таңда университетте білім берудің 3 деңгейі бойынша 300-ден астам білім беру бағдарламалары әзірленген. Университет инновациялық білім беру бағдарламаларымен бірге заман талабына сай материалдық техникалық базамен жабдықталған. Әуезов университеті идеядан инновацияға, сапалы білім, жарқын болашақ кепілі.
Здравствуйте еще раз. Насколько я знаю, в течение прошлых 2 дней для вас, дорогие учителя, проходили интенсивы, воркшопы, сессии с лучшими учителями мира. Вам понравилось? Большое спасибо за такую обратную связь. Я надеюсь, что знания, которые мы получили за эти 2 дня прошедшие, обязательно будут воплощены, обязательно применятся в нашей науке, в сфере образования. Ну а сейчас давайте перейдем к пленарной сессии, которую я объявляла. Now we move on to a critical discussion, as I emphasized before. And the topic of our plenary session today is how administrators support teachers to grow. The discussion promises to shed light on the pivotal role that administrators play in nurturing the talents and professional development of our educators. We have the privilege of having a panel of esteemed experts with us today, each with a unique perspective on this vital subject. Let me introduce them to you. Keisha Thorpe, the Vice President of US Elite International 2021 Global Teacher Prize winner. Let's welcome one more time. Next, we have Dr. Carlos Biada. Dr. Carlos Biada, please welcome co-director of Next Generation Learning Challenges. Our next expert, Ержан Әубәкіров, Ұстаз Про және Құндылық оқу орталықтарының педагог зерттеушісі, Білім инновация халықаралық қоғамдық қорының бірінші вице-президенті. Joining us today is our next expert. You already know him, Disale, the 2022 Global Teacher Prize winner. Let's welcome Disale one more time. Наш пятый эксперт Гульнара Салмен, международный эксперт, основатель Ассоциации школ международного бакалавриата стран Кавказа и Центральной Азии, директор общественного фонда Teach for Kazakhstan. And let's welcome Dr. Trisha Thorpe, CEO and President of US Elite International, a distinguished university professor and an education speaker and advocate. Let's welcome Dr. Thorpe. Дорогие гости, на этой пленарной сессии наши уважаемые эксперты обсудят важный вопрос. And now it's my honor to hand over the moderation reins to an expert in education, Dr. Trisha Thorpe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. As our esteemed moderator mentioned, today we are going to touch on the topic of how administrators support and help teachers to grow. And so all of my panelists here are in some way, shape, or form have been a principal, administrator, or director of their school. And so the wisdom they're about to impart on you, I am sure that you will take it, have lots of takeaways. And so I really advise you to listen keenly as they share with you, particularly if you're an administrator today. So the first question I have for my esteemed panel, and I'm going to start with you first, Mr. Disale. How do you foster an atmosphere where teachers feel supported, empowered, and also valued?
Hello. Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Trisha, for asking me the question. I'm so happy to be here. I always wonder, my kids coming to school every day, wake up early morning, and they were so excited to come to school and enjoy, have a fun. I wish my teachers too, wake up early morning, being excited, going to school and work together under the guidance of principal. And this culture can be created in the schools if a principal creates such an environment for teachers. And teachers should feel that they're valued, they're respected, and they're supported. So it's very critical for a critical role of an administrator to create such an environment. The way teachers are creating in the classroom, they respect every students. I actually, painted a quote on my classroom. And the quote is that, in this class, mistakes are expected, respected, and celebrated. So this is the way I organize my classroom, and principals should be doing the same thing as administrators should be doing the same thing with teachers. Teachers, they are the human beings, right? So they can commit mistakes, they can make mistakes. We should accept them the way they are. But in order to create an atmosphere where teachers feel they're valued, I think a couple of things as a principal or an administrator we should be doing. The first thing comes in my mind always is like professional development of teachers. It's always matters. The way I talk last couple of days in Binom schools, and I always saying teachers, try to be a teacher of 21st century, because this generation of 21st century being nurtured by teachers of 20th century using that 19th century curriculum and 18th century techniques. It's a huge gap between, teacher's style of teaching and student style of learning. So we need, as being an administrator, we need to focus on professional development of all our teachers. And at the same time, embed them some skills of collaborative learning. Teaching never happens isolated. It's always happened collaboratively. And the way students are learning, we need to teach our students how teachers can teach collaboratively. A couple of things administrators can do. At the same time, teaching or mentoring new teachers in our classroom, in our schools is also important. Just like senior teachers can be a mentor of new coming teachers, giving them atmosphere, sense of belongings here. I think these kind of a couple of small things always matters to create that, teachers are being valued and respected in our classroom. This is the way I think principals can create an atmosphere of where teachers can feel they are valued and important to the schools and to the administrators as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll turn to you, Yerzan, if you have anything to add to that.
Thank you, Keisha, for your question. First of all, I'm very delighted to be there in this such wonderful scene, and I want to greet everybody because such kind of conferences, festivals, I believe that it will give a big impulse to professional development,
Yes.
Teacher inspiration, and their motivation. That's why it's very great. Thank you very much. And coming to your question, I worked several years as a principal of the school, and this question is directly about maybe my experience. I think the most important thing at school is the school culture. Because it's the fundamental of everything. It's for parents, for students, for teachers. And in the school culture, first, the principal must pay to foster the feeling of support. I think the principal should pay attention to communication, to effective communication with teachers, even not with teachers, with all stakeholders. Second is building a relationship. Because without real relationship, without, for example, let's take about formal meetings. I want to give some example. We hold weekly meetings, maybe monthly meetings. We have at school, like Petsavet we call it. These meetings somehow conducts as a formal, and only maybe principal just speaking, and then maybe but nobody contributes to the school's theme or school problem. At that sphere, the principal must conduct a real effective communication with teachers, must listen to them. When the teachers are listened, they feel that they are valued. I think the first one, this is very important. Second, the vision. We have to set a clear vision for everybody at school. The teachers must understand where the school is going, what the principal wants from us. And if the teacher understands her or his role in achieving this, vision, she will really do everything to reach it, because they understand that they are a part of the big they are the part of the big goal, and everybody will do their best. And last, it's about the principle, leadership. Leadership is also important. I call it mostly buildership, not the leader, mostly builder, because the builder can cast a vision that's always compelling, that everybody will be willing to join to this goal. I think this sort of thing is very important to foster an atmosphere of support and empowerment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And while you're listening, I know you probably don't have a Padlet or a tablet with you, but do take notes on your phone, because they're sharing some really, really great information here. And so I want to mention culture, right, that we've heard twice here. Building a culture, making sure that empowering your teachers, creating a vision for them, creating space for collaboration and professional development, building your teacher, buildership he mentioned, right? And some of you probably have never heard of it before. I have not heard of it. Instead of leadership, buildership, working together and fostering that culture so your teachers can grow. So thank you so much for sharing that, because when you create that vision for your teachers and you value them and you respect them, that only increases their productivity and increase classroom outcomes from their students. Which brings me to the next question. How meaningful is teacher evaluation? Right? While we're building these teachers, we're providing professional development for them, we're creating value for them. Now we have to evaluate them on what we have given them. So how important or how meaningful is teacher evaluation, and what is your process for evaluating your teachers? And I'll go to Dr. Beato, and then I'll go to Mr. Gondara.
Hello, and thank you again for having us here. I think teacher evaluation is extremely important, is a way for us to measure the success of a school. But I think that what has happened in education lately is that the principalship has turned into a lot of other things than just instruction. There's a lot of operational things that are happening, at least in the US, and that has taken away a little bit from the real value of evaluations. So ultimately, I believe that principals should be building in structures and systems where teachers feel supported along the way. It's not a just one-time thing to be evaluated, but rather along the way build many sessions with teachers where you see a few minutes of interactions with students, give quick feedback, and allow yourself to see a teacher to grow, and then leading to a formal evaluation. This piece around culture is really important. You need to professionally develop teachers to be able to build the classrooms that you want to see. And the only way that you can do that, honestly, is being a model instructional leader as a principal. And so one of the things that I did was I led an after-school club and actually lunch club around AP Spanish, because Spanish was the course that I taught as a teacher. And so in order for other teachers to see me in that capacity as an instructional leader, I opened up the space for my teachers to be able to see me as an instructional leader. And I think that that's really important. We have lost a lot of that in education in present society, and we need to go back to that. We need to go back to a space where learning is purposeful and engaging for students, and it's still rigorous. You don't let go of that rigor, because kids need to be prepared for the future. And if we don't prepare them in that way, then they're going to go out into the world and be lost.
Thank you. So Gonara.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Khairul kun, khairul tang. Hello to everyone. I'm happy to be here and also privileged to be on the stage with such an amazing people. I'm actually English language teacher and with the 14 years of experience, and I have been in a different leadership positions at Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools for about 10 years. And now I'm doing Project Teach for Kazakhstan, and I think it's an honor to share here about a little bit project. And then moreover, I have done my master's degree on teacher evaluation, teacher appraisal process, so I have a lot to share about this here. I would like to say about Teach for Kazakhstan, the project that I'm doing. I've never thought that I will start doing social innovations besides teaching, and I thought that teaching is my whole life career. But Teach for Kazakhstan is about recruiting and selecting the promising and the best university students from the top university of Kazakhstan and abroad to bring them to teaching. So as a public fund, we recruit, select, educate, give the postgraduate certificate of general education to the engineers to become teacher and send them to work at the rural areas for 2 years. This is the worldwide fellowship with the name of Teach for All. We have Teach for India,
yes,
probably you know
I know
it. Yeah, Teach for Kazakhstan, Teach for America, Teach for China. It has in 60 countries, and we are happy to launch it this year. And I want to say that about 5 of our fellows are sitting here in this room because Nobelfest is actually very supporting us so much. So I would like to welcome them here and say that engineers can become teachers of mathematics and the physics, economists can be teachers of history, geography, and they are doing it now in the 10 schools of rural areas of Karaganda region. So that's what I'm delighted about. And about meaningful of teacher evaluation, why it's that meaningful. First of all, it is unfair to assess students but do not assess teachers. So I think we have to assess it, but the way how we organize it is it's way not the way we should do that. I mean, particularly in our country, we have more summative assessment, which is like attestation, attestation, which we do like once in a 3-5 years time. But we do not do the formative assessment. How about supervision? How about giving the feedback? How about sharing the goals that Yerjan was sharing? The school has the mission, vision, values certain. How do we really implement it? Do we really understand how we are doing this? And this all should be as a part of the supervision. And then should come the evaluation part. And this all should be collected as a data. And then should come the judgment part where we say, hey, teacher, you are not good teacher. You are doing bad thing. This is not the way you should do that. That's how it should work. So it should have these 3 stages, which is supervision, evaluation, and then the judgment. In that way, it is very, I would say, safe for teachers and for the administration. It is very, it is about culture, when everyone can actually visit each other's lesson, give feedback, be very effective in the way they do, and they all know it. For that one, of course, school should, in order to make it more meaningful, school should have clear standards. School should have common understanding. When we say, you can have clear standards, but one teacher understands it this way, teacher, let's say leader, she again goes to the classroom, says, that's not the best lesson. And then goes to the next teacher leader, says, this is not, so we should have common understanding what is the best lesson. How should we do that? How should we implement particular values in the classroom? And then we should have trained educators who know how to assess particular lessons or give feedback. This is probably the most important things. Besides that one, I would also pay attention to the things like a social capital. We also need to consider teachers' social capital, because nowadays teachers are mostly focused on their teaching and they don't know what is happening in the world. They're just there in the classroom and they even don't know what is happening in the education system. So social capital, professional capital, human capital, all of those things should be kind of mixed together, and it should be placed on a clear standards that can be clear to all teachers, which will actually set up the culture. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Wonderful.
And her program is a really great program, Teach for Kazakhstan. And if you have any questions about that following our session, I'm sure she'll be able to share more with you, and you can see her after, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thank
Great,
you very much. Yeah.
Great. So my next question is related to decision making in schools and how are teachers included in that. So what area in your school do you as a teacher get included in the decision making? What area do you include teachers in the decision making? And I'll go ahead and I'll start with Mr. Disale, then I'll turn it over to Ms. Thorpe.
Okay. I still remember my early days when I was administrator, and I was taking more than 100 decisions in a day. My mind was really exhausted. Every day at the end of the day, I was going back to home, and I took like 2 or 3 hours nap. Clearly exhausted. But then I thought of like, instead of taking decisions at my own responsibility and accountability, why don't I involve teachers in decision-making environment? But my teachers were actually reluctant to do that, because when you take a decision, and they were afraid of like what if something went wrong? Who will be responsible for those things? Who will be accountable for those things? So I told them that don't worry of the result, even though decision, like sometimes it might be good, correct, sometimes it might go wrong. But first thing is that you should start taking decisions. In the classroom, we took decisions like who should be talking, who should not be talking, who should be answering, who should not be answering. So we take those decisions as the teachers. But when we become administrator and our administrators ask us like, you are now in charge of this department. So suddenly teacher starts feeling, oh no, it's like added burden on me. So what I did, I figured out some areas where I could involve teachers in decision-making or service area. So a couple of areas were like designing school policies for students, for parents, setting up the rules of the classrooms as well. Then I also involved them in the budget allocation. That was really, important decision. I really think so, because initially I was the only person who was allocating budget, but I'm not expert of all those things. I can't understand what teachers need in those classrooms. Yesterday you mentioned that there should be budget for the parent teachers community engagement, right? So that's a good idea. You being a teacher, you feel that there should be budget for parent engagement. And I involve my teachers in that area. What kind of areas where we should be spending money? So teachers come up with their different ideas, that's like yours. One of my teachers one day suggested me like, we should have a budget for evaluation, Ranjit. I said, wow, very nice idea, but where are you going to spend it? So he said like, I don't want to use that formative assessment. I want to go beyond that. I want my kids to go in the field, in the community, and let them understand the problems, and let them think how they can solve those problems. I need funds for those field trips. Oh, that's a good idea, I think. So this is how I involve them in my decision-making areas. I also involve them in school improvement initiatives. Because teachers know whether our schools is performing well or not. What are the areas we are very strong? What are those areas where we are weak? If we involve all the teachers, basically, if we involve all the teachers in that school improvement initiatives, I think the better team, collaborative work happen, and we might see the better results as well. So these are a couple of areas where I actively involve my teachers to make decisions, be accountable for their decisions, no matter what is the result. Dare to take a decision.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Disale. So I've been a teacher for 20 years in the classroom, and I'm now actually an administrator, so I've been on both ends. And so I always think that the best administrators always, at the beginning, include teachers in decision-making of a shared vision for what your school is supposed to be. Because teachers have to have that buy-in for the school to be successful. Mr. Disale talks about budget. That's one of the greatest things as well. How do we allocate the funding based on what our needs are. And I think a lot of times teachers are left out of the decision-making process, but they're the ones that are in the classroom and really know what the needs of their students are. So they have to be, they're the engines in the school, so they have to make sure, the administrators have to make sure that teachers are involved in decision-making at all levels. The school that I teach at is a community school, and so one way that, and this is actually my former principal as well. So one of the ways he included teachers in decision-making is by forming a steering committee. And on that steering committee, you have teachers, community members, you have students and parents, and we all sit and talk about what are the areas of needs in our school and how to allocate that budget to make sure that everyone in our school, including parents and including the community that our school serves, everyone actually benefits from the decisions that are made for these funds. We talked about learning resources. Teachers should be able to make those decisions. Curriculum, teachers need to be included in those decision-making because they ultimately impact the outcomes of students. They should also be involved in decision-making for infrastructure. We talked about that earlier this week. What should the school design look like? Students, parents, teachers, everyone should be involved in those kinds of decisions. When we also talk about how we engage parents, as Mr. Disale says, we are the ones that interact with the students more than anyone else in the building. And so we are on the front line in between students and home. We are that bridge, not the administrators. So we don't expect the administrators to call 2,000 homes, right, or 2,000 parents. And so teachers have to be involved in how do we engage parents and what is enough engagement for teachers to handle, because we know that sometimes it can be overwhelming for teachers. So we need to be involved in the decision-making process in all aspects of the school. Great, thank you so much. And I'll just summarize that real quick. So essentially, the decision-making is not only up to the administrators. It takes teachers, parents, and the community at large, and everyone plays a role into building the community school and making it prosper. So I'll go ahead now and ask, why are principals important? We just kind of talked about some of your roles as principal, but really, why are principals important, and how do you help your teachers who are struggling?
I'll be happy to take that. So the principal, the teacher role is one of the most important roles in a school building, the most important role in the school building. And the principal should be, in essence, the #1 teacher leader in a school building. Yes. And so at the end of the day, it should be educators leading a school building in general. No separation by their title. So I think that one of the things that I have done is including teachers in all of the different processes in the school building, from evaluation to designing new clubs and committees, including teachers in all types of decision-making process. One year, we got $100,000 to be a community school. And the first thing that I did was create a committee, as Ms. Thorpe said, and build a committee with students, parents, teachers, and admin that would inform what that $100,000 would be used for. Because me alone, I don't get to see what is happening in the classroom every single day. And ultimately, it is the teacher, it is the parents who are seeing what kids are getting for homework at home, who are really understanding what is missing in the classroom and what is needed. And so through this committee, we would do surveys, think about the things that are not going well, and where there was an opportunity for growth. So one of the things that I did for teachers exclusively was build a system of evaluation, going back to that question, where it was a process that was very interconnected. It wasn't a one-time thing. we would show up to classroom, my AP and I, to do informal observations, not to say, got you, we got you, teacher, but rather to say, we're going to see 10 minutes of instruction, we're going to see how it's going, and we're going to give you feedback right away. And I think that's one important element of giving quick feedback as teachers are implementing instruction, to be able to build a solid instructional culture and core in a school building. But the principal has to be ready to set systems and structures in place and allow teachers to inform those systems and structures. If something is not working, we should all be able to collectively make decisions about what is not working and how do we make it better.
Cool. Ms. Golnara?
Yeah, I just, thank you, Carlos. I mean, you mentioned everything, but for me, principal is a person who actually owns the brand, keeps the brand, person who actually leads everything, the way he communicates with people, the way he treats children, the way he sets up everything is actually example how should things be in a classroom. So I think how the important thing for me, I think, is to be able to communicate well with the teachers, to share with them everything that is happening in your side, because teachers usually, again, as I told, they teach, they think about their classroom, and I think it's important to principals sometimes share what is happening in his side, her side, to have bigger picture, because principals usually have that big picture or helicopter view about everything that is happening. And in that case, when you communicate it effectively and teachers can actually share a lot of things, help, suggest, move actually some things more quicker than principals can do sometimes. So yeah, principal is amazing and important person, but without teachers and the students, I think he will not be that important. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, we kind of just touched on how you help struggling teachers. Now, I want to know, how do you motivate teachers? How do you keep them engaged and help them to feel important and wake up every morning and say, this is an important job. I feel great about being a teacher. And by the way, this week we celebrated World Teachers Day. So I want to let you know, all the administrators here, all the educators, all the teachers, happy World Teachers Day. And we appreciate you all.
So
now
I
I'll
think,
touch on, go ahead.
I think I'll jump in really quickly and respond to that. How administrators motivate teachers to be their best selves. I think one of the first things that most teachers don't get is autonomy. Like, we need some autonomy. Give us leadership positions, trust us to lead, and trust that we have the skills to do so. And if we don't, then give us the training necessary to do so. Empower us. A lot of times we think we go into the classroom and we teach students how to, well, we go in with our positive selves and we teach students how to affirm each other, but sometimes we don't get that back. And so even as adults, we need affirmation. Like you said earlier, coming into the classroom, it's not a I got you moment. I want to write something down because you didn't do something right, and I want it as evidence to weaponize against you. But coming in saying that there are areas that you can improve on and relay that in a constructive way, in a positive way, so that the teacher feels confident about wanting to grow, about wanting to stay in the profession. And I think that's why so many teachers leave the profession, because they don't get that level of support. So we need constant affirmation. We need that constant training, that constant support from our administrators. Even a smile, right? So we want our administrators to model the level of professionalism that they want from us. Treat us with respect. Show us that we're valued. Show us that they care about us. You know, one of the ways that my principal here, my former principal here, we call him the food king, because we get breakfast all the time. We get breakfast for no reason. We get lunch for no reason. We get T-shirts for no reason. Well, I wouldn't say for no reason, but it's just his way of showing this is how I love and support and show you that I care.
Trisha, I just want to jump in, The way Keisha is now, you have been commenting on your principal nowadays, and we just celebrated World Teachers Day. And we also have to start a World Administrators or Principals Day to celebrate here, to recognize the work they are doing, leading the way their entire team. Is there any international or national Principals Day?
Today, let's make it today.
Let's make it today.
Or we could call it World Educators Day.
Yes.
It includes everyone.
Yes.
I thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask, how important is teacher-administrator relationship? I know Ms. Thorpe was talking about her former principal and the type of relationship that he fosters within his school environment. Now share with me, how important is that relationship between administrator and the teachers? I'll go ahead and talk.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I will jump in. As I told before, I think the relationship between the teachers is the bedrock for everything, because depending on the relationship, you can just drive the way you want. Listening and everything, school culture, as I told, plays the important role in this in this place, because if you want to reach the way you want, the people working with you, around you, they must understand your vision, and without clear communication, without delivering this goal to them, you cannot reach. That's why the relationship will play the fundamental role in this, I think.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Can I
Yes.
say, as a principal, I have a responsibility for every single person that I hire. And so it is important to me to be able to cultivate and bring out the best in every single person in my building. And so it is my responsibility to make sure that I have great relationships with all of my staff. And I'll tell you that over the years that I was at the school, there were only a few teachers that left, and it was because they were leaving the state, they were going back to school. It was not because they didn't like or do well in the environment they were in. We created the structures for them to be successful, and in spaces when teachers were not being great teachers for the students that we were providing support for, English learners in this case, then, we amicably separated ways because we understood that they were not the best teachers for that population of students. And so I think, and I will repeat this again, as a principal, it is my responsibility to be able to cultivate those relationships and to be able to help build teachers to their next level.
I just want to add one more thing. I think to help the good relationship will help also the school principal's evaluation. When teachers can be part of that evaluation, when they can give feedback about things that work and things that don't work. And it's not only about principals, it can be school administrators like vice principals, deputy directors, and all the things. And it will give them the ownership that they are part of this culture, that they can really influence. For example, sometimes some principals never answer to your mail. They read and they forget to simply say, reply, I got it. And when some teachers can write feedback saying that, I always write you but never get feedback. And then you start replying, because then you know your blind spot also. So I think to building the relationship is also always taking them on board on everything that you're doing. Also makes strong relationships, and it's clear then if you have effective principal is actually about having good relationship and the good retention.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing. And we've been talking a lot about what principals can do to have really great teachers show up for them every day, right? And so some of those are some of the positive influences and some of the way we grow teacher excellence. Now, just kind of take a step back. Let's think about the negative impact. What about the negative impact on the school's culture, the climate? How will that affect the teacher-administrator relationship, right, in a negative way, if there is not a great relationship between the teachers and the administrators? What are some of the negative impacts? I'm sure they all want to know, right, because we're all trying to grow our teachers in excellence.
Well, as a teacher who have been in a few different schools and also a few different school systems, I've experienced a myriad of different types of leadership. And I realized that some of those leadership was just not for me, or some of those environments were not just for me. And I think one of the negative impact of not having an administrator supporting teachers is that, you know how we are teachers, we're quick to form a clique, right? The teachers form clique, and as a former teacher union building representative, I know too well how those are. Teachers form cliques, they file grievances, and you do everything to bring the house down. Because if you're not happy, then it becomes a toxic environment. They talk about the principal, they talk about teachers, and then they bring it into the classroom. And ultimately, you have teachers who get so disgruntled that they throw all professionalism out the door, and they tell students about their problems. And then we start having behavior management problems in the classroom. The performance goes down, teacher performance goes down. We have affecting students' performance. And so there are just a myriad of negative things that impact that school culture and climate when teachers are not happy. If administrators want us to show up as our best selves for students, then they have to create, like Dr. Beata said, a warm environment for us, so we can go into the classroom happy and create that warm environment for our students so that they also can have an opportunity to experience us as our best selves. And that's when we start having great performance outcomes from our students.
Can I jump in? There is a word, toxicity. Maybe you heard everybody, toxicity. This word is used in the chemical sphere, exactly, but we can also use it in the sphere of education. If there is a not good relationship, the toxicity will arise in a school environment, school culture. And as a consequence, a lot of things will happen. First, from my experience, what I heard maybe mostly from my colleagues, the risk-taking. You know, risk-taking is very important for young teachers, exactly. If the principal do not listen and do not care about teachers will not take a risk to do something, to do something new, to implement new strategies, new practice at school. Second, what may arise is there will not be an honest dialogue between the teachers, between the principal. There will be more back-channel talks, where everybody talks, just decide something, but in reality, it will not work. Then the last very important thing is the punishment. The punishment will be used more than recognition or rewards. All these stuffs will really affect the quality of education for everything. This exactly I can call as a toxic culture will arise.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Did you want to share?
Yeah, absence of trust, I think. That's the trust should be the biggest, the huge letters everywhere at school. So that will probably help the whole school community and culture to decrease the negative things, because I think every principal, everyone is working to decrease that negative impact, the relationship at school, because it's everywhere, kind of, and it's not easy to like cut it So we try every time to do it, but it's always happening there. So trust should be there, so everyone can trust each other, say that this is not the way you're doing, this is what we've agreed to do, it should be done like that. So I think trust should be the key thing.
Okay, so trust is a key thing, and I'll just move down the line and you can tell me another key thing that you think should be positive in building that relationship. I'll go to you, Mr. Disale, and then I'll go down the line.
Oh, it's very difficult to find, positive things here if we don't have any administrative support for the teachers and students. But to my opinion, I think there will be more teacher autonomy. They might have more freedom to do whatever they want in the classroom. I'm talking in the classroom only. Teachers might feel that being more doing the work the way they want, whatever they want, they might say that. There might be more innovation and experiment happening in the classroom. Maybe teachers, sometimes teachers say, hey, principal, we will go for this. I like this idea. Let's try. And principal might not accept that fact, right? But if he's not supporting, then teachers might start taking decisions, responsibility that I talk about, or accountability. Then the new kind of innovations and experiments might be happening. That might be the positive impact when we don't have any administrative support to the teachers. And I guess teachers might be, I'm talking about just a little bit about negative impact, because I don't have any positive impact. Just just imagine a classroom without teacher support. How students will feel and how they will learn or how they will develop other things, right? So principal is really important key pillar of the school system. So teachers might feel stressed if they are not getting support from the administrators. They might be dissatisfied the way they are doing, and they might not be performing well if there is no any kind of a support. So it's maybe chaotic situation in the class, in the entire school. So it's very important. Rather than talking about a lot more positive impact, but there might not be too many positive impacts. There are a lot of negative impacts.
Okay, great. So trust, support.
Toxic.
Another positive impact on teachers. I'm going down.
You're next. Can you repeat the question?
I just want you to tell me a positive impact for teachers when they really feel supported by their administrators.
They will, I think, the important is the quality of education will improve. The parents will be everybody will get from it. Parents, teachers, I don't know, even the country, government, everybody will get an impact from it. That's why the impact is very great, I think, will be great.
All right, thank you.
I would say the impact it has the possibility of increasing student achievement. No direct correlation yet in the research, but I can say honestly what this brings is a collaboration to its deepest level. And so when you have an environment where there is trust, collective vision, where there is collective decision making, you are building the utmost environment for students and teachers to be able to live within and to create the best possible learning culture.
All right, thank you. And I would like to add collegiality when there is great support from administrators and teachers feel that we all support our principals, we all support each other, we all become friends inside and outside the classroom. Some go on to marry their coworkers. But when there is such a, when teachers feel supported, they show up, and it's also great for your emotional well-being because burnout is real, and that creates a lot of teacher turnover. So my positive would be collegiality. Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I will go to ask now, what role do principals play in teacher professional development? And I'll turn to you, Mr. Yerzan, because we talked a lot about evaluating teachers, and we hear over the last few days here at Nobel Fest and the Teachers Summit, we have been engaging teachers in some really great sessions, and I think they really do appreciate it. So now tell me, what role do administrators play in teacher professional development?
From my experience, I want to put attention to one very important thing is as a principal, first of all, we have to understand the needs of the teacher first. Without understanding what she or he needs, just giving or sending them to any kind of professional development course, it will be failure, no effect. That's why, in my experience, I use skill will matrix. You know, you heard maybe about it. I try to understand what is the missing point in her willingness or capability. Because some teacher show a good lesson, She's very wonderful. She has 15 years or 20 years old experience in teaching. She's a master teacher. But sometimes when you attend her lesson, you see that the lesson is not well. There is negative feedback from parents, from students you see, or from your colleagues, administration, your vice principal. When you understand, she has a problem, will problem she has. She has problem with family maybe, with staff, or just everything connected. And without understanding it, just sending her to some kind of conference, it will be failure. That's why we have to understand where is the problem, in will problem or skill problem. Then depending on this matrix, the matrix consists of 4 parts, you know, skill part and will part. You will tailor. First, you will solve her will problem. It may be, as I said, it's a family problem or whatever. Then you can do whatever is saying. Second, as Keisha said, the autonomy, I think it's important. As a principal, I have to give autonomy for teacher. You know, maybe some teacher, there is 2 kinds of teachers. Some do not need autonomy. Some, they say, just show me what to do, and I will do. But maybe some teachers, in my experience, I really I saw them, they need autonomy to change the curriculum somehow, or to provide, to conduct the lesson somewhere else, not at the school. And the principal must help them, must guide them, must organize in a place. Last one is the feedback. For me, it's the feedback, because ongoing, regular feedback also will help teachers to improve and to do their best.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to share?
Yeah, I would say that a principal also has to be humble enough to say when they don't know something also. So for example, I didn't know anything about restorative practices when I started as a principal, and I had to get outside experts to come in to teach us all in the school building what restorative practices were. And it wasn't a one-time thing, it was a continuous learning process. And I think what the research says about professional development is that it cannot be a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. And so if you teach about differentiation at the beginning of the school year and scaffolding, you have to continuously build that in to all of your different processes. So when you go into a classroom and observe for 10 minutes, you're observing specifically around differentiation and scaffolding. When you do your evaluation at the end of the year, you give specific feedback around scaffolding and differentiation. And in that way, you build in a professional development structure that actually connects to the collective vision of the school.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And what I hear them saying about as well is willingness and capability, right? Are you willing to get the training that you need to develop and to develop your teaching skills for the classroom. And remember, we talk about the modern day 21st century classroom, where technology is at the epicenter of our classroom. Internationalization of education as well, and globalization. How willing and capable are you to step into the future with your students and show them that you care about them learning and moving them into the 21st century modern day classroom? So yes, willingness and capability is very important. And also, teachers have to take responsibility as well, right? For your own learning and your own career growth. And if you find that maybe your principals or your administrators are not as in tune in what you need, take the step, take the effort to tell them what you need. As they mentioned here, decision making is critical, and they all agree that in decision making, teachers are very important part of that decision making. So empower yourself and ensure that you be a part of the decision making and ask for what you need to develop yourself as a teacher in moving into the 21st century classroom. Okay, so I'm going to now ask, as we talk about that, we talk about teachers taking initiative, right, in their own career. It's all about mindset as well. So how do you facilitate a growth mindset for your teachers to wanting to come to you and have the capability and willingness to say they want different things in the classroom or they want different things from their administrator? How do you facilitate that growth mindset? And I'll turn to you first, Mr. Beato, and then, oh, go ahead, Mr. Yerzan.
Okay.
And then Mr. Beato.
As I said before, first, to model the growth mindset in teachers, the principal should accept or should, appreciate failure. Because without appreciating or without accepting failure, teachers will not change. Exactly what I say, what I understood. Teachers, they do not resist change. Exactly. They resist loss. That's why we have to show them that when they are changing, when they are achieving something, they will not lose what they have. If we show them, if we help them to understand this, they will change. Because growth mindset is everything is depending with changing, you know. There's a lot of things, sending them to conferences, just giving feedbacks, everything is, but it's all the time simple things. Yeah. But first of all, everything happens in the mind and the relation between the principal and the teacher. That's why we have to foster it. Show them if they change, they will not lose anything. Even they will improve. That's, I think, very important.
Thank you. And I'll just get a final comment from you. Then we'll turn to our audience and get some questions.
Build a culture of celebration. Celebrate all of the good things that are happening in the building constantly. So as a part of my school, we had daily announcements. I created daily announcements on a daily basis, and I asked teachers to input into the daily announcements, and we celebrated each other every single time we could and we had an opportunity. And in creating that process of celebration, what we did was build pockets of innovation where teachers were able to say, oh, I'm getting really good at this, at using technology. And so then we created our teacher TED Talks. That was one of the final things that I did as a principal. And through those teacher TED Talks, there were opportunities for teachers to build professional development. They were 20-minute professional development experiences for teachers to see each other in practice. And we did that on a monthly basis.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
So much. So now I would like to ask our dear experts to answer a few questions from the audience. Yes, thank you so much. Дорогая аудитория, уважаемые учителя, у нас есть возможность задать несколько вопросов нашим экспертам. Пожалуйста, подготовьте. Если у кого-то уже есть готовый вопрос, вы можете поднять руку, и к вам подойдут. Or I would take the advantage of being a moderator and ask first question. It's going to be a more philosophical question for you. You have an extensive experience in the field of education. You have expertise and many different achievements. What inspires you to develop the sphere of education? Thank you so much.
To all of us? What's that for me? Any one of you.
I can. I mean,
Could you repeat the
for
question?
me, what inspires is, I mean, as the project Teach for Kazakhstan, we work with the schools, with the children that are in the rural schools in the remote areas. So what motivates me or what inspires me is the children that are at school, no matter in the city or in the rural areas, but the way they want to learn, inquire, they want to have a better life. That's what probably inspires me, and inspires also the fellows of the project Teach for Kazakhstan who decided to change their life and really move to the remote areas of Kazakhstan, from graduating the top universities. That's what inspires me a lot, and it motivates me a lot, and I want to work even more than I'm working. That's what inspires me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Maybe someone else wants to share your thoughts.
I guess I'll share. I think
Thank
what
you.
inspires me about children, I've gone over this a million times in my head, and to be very organic and honest, one of the things that really inspires me is helping students to break the cycle of generational poverty. Because for me, education was so transformational in my life. And so as a teacher, I want to always pass on that legacy of education. We have so many different things that inspires us and people who inspires us. But for me, I don't think any child chooses poverty. And so when we have an opportunity to empower ourselves and to empower students to have a better future and to give them the things that they need in order to have a fair chance at life, I think that's what inspires me every day. And to just see them in my classroom have that aha moment for themselves, or to come back from college and say, Ms. Thorpe, you were one of my hardest teacher, but thank you for being that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for emphasizing the role of education also. Now let's give the chance for the audience to ask few questions. Пожалуйста, у нас уже есть первый вопрос из зала.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Raihan. I am principal in primary school, Kadam School. And my question is, please, just few tips for the teachers who are sitting here about the workload. What did you do in order to actually to help teachers to cope with the workload? Thank you so much.
I think I'll go ahead and answer. I think this is an administrator question,
Yeah.
but I think I'm on both ends, but I'm going to respond as a teacher. I always say hard work is not hard work. So when you're doing work from your heart and you see the changes that you're making in students' lives, and you become so satisfied, you feel just energized and empowered. And so when you come to school every day, you see other teachers pulling hair out, and they're like, why are you so happy? What's going on? It's because you have changed your mindset. You don't see your students from a deficit perspective, but you also see what they bring into the classroom. And you use it also as an opportunity, what they bring into your classroom, as an opportunity to learn more about yourself. So if you look at learning as a two-way street, every time you come into the classroom, you empower yourself, your students, and that also takes out the workload. One of the things I did with the classroom, the open classroom lesson that I shared, is that I gave every single student in the class a responsibility. And that, in essence, automatically reduces my workload. I put them in groups to work together so that I don't have to I only facilitate the group and facilitate learning, so that I don't have to go specifically to every single individual student and tell them what to do, but they're also empowering each other and sharing and making decisions and learning together. So that, in essence, reduces a lot of my workload on a daily basis, and also when I'm planning, it makes me take myself out of planning and push my students a lot more. So have student-centered classroom where you empower your students, because that takes off a lot of your workload.
I just want to respond.
Yes, sure.
So Kisha made really critical point and the tips and tricks for the teachers to manage that workload. Initially, when I started teaching, and I was feeling really stressed. As I told you, like I was taking hundreds of decisions and a lot more work. So what I did, one day I make a note of all the works I am doing right now in a 1 month. And at the end of the month, I sat down and I just looked at my list of work I did in the 1 month. And then I figured out what are those areas where I can include technology to do this work. And that's the way I use technology. Now technology, it can be done using technology. There should not be human touch to these kind of works. So you can find such a ways where you can use technology. It can be done by technology. Just nowadays, a lot more work can be done by using ChatGPT and AI tools. And it can just, if you're feeling overburdened and other things, you can just use that ChatGPT. By the way, I just, yesterday, last night, I asked ChatGPT to just prepare my 3 to 5 minute speech. I'm going to speak at Nobel Fest and just give them the prompt. So this is the way you have to manage the work.
So you cheated.
I just want to add one thing. Thanks for the ideas. Being a teacher is very, very hard work, and you have a lot of things to do, starting from the teaching till the paperwork and all the administrative invigilating and all that stuff is amazing, like amount of work. So now what I like nowadays is the tendency, do not manage time, manage your energy. So maybe as a teachers, you have to revisit how you manage your energy. Maybe find something that always like gives you energy, maybe reading, singing, sports, eating, cooking, whatever, that gives you energy so you can come and do the rest of the work with different attitude. So that might be another. And also, for me, the best teacher is the teacher who can reflect all the time. So I think teachers need to reflect on the things, how they work, what they do. Maybe they really do not have that much work, but because they think that they have, and it's just the, that cloud above your head, and you're thinking, I have to do this and that. So it's about managing really energy and trying to really set up the exactly deadlines that you have to do. And I know some teachers, I personally, who can do everything on time and very effectively. And you're like, how she does it? And that if someone can do that, it means that you can do that too.
Can do that. Right.
So yeah, maybe you just don't need to do some things that are not important, or you can do it in the last moment. So
thank you so much. We still have a few questions from the audience. Let's give the chance. Пожалуйста, следующий вопрос из зала.
Может, да, вопрос задать? Ага. Здравствуйте, уважаемые коллеги. Спасибо, что сегодня нас пригласили, мы участвуем в этом, мне очень понравилось. Я хотел у зарубежных именно у наших коллег спросить о том, что сейчас наше поколение, дети, которые у нас сейчас, мы же говорим же, Z, дети, которые только идут на инновационное развитие. Но есть у нас проблема, есть воспитание и образование. Это два близнеца, друг другу. Я хотел задать зарубежным именно экспертам то, что именно как бороться с кибербуллингом, как в их странах борются именно с кибербуллингом, пожалуйста. Этот вопрос у нас сейчас в Казахстане очень актуален, потому что у нас сейчас много именно проблем с этим происходит. Я хотел именно какое решение у них именно в их странах происходило насчет именно кибербуллинга.
Yeah, I could speak to that. So, and let me take this off because I hear myself. So one of the things that we implemented at my school was restorative practices. So when students know and understand that the automatic thing is not going to be suspension, but rather you might have to write a letter or say sorry in public to another student, or a classroom that you might have disrupted based on your behavior, It's one of the things that allowed us to build a very strong culture for students where we barely had any cyber bullying. We did have like 3 over the course of 5 years that were huge to us, but because we implemented an environment centered on culturally responsive practices, restorative practices, it allowed us to not have to deal with that because kids were in advisories. So we had a one-person model. That means that teachers had about 12 students to 15 students that they were in charge of. We had advisory every single day, and through that advisory, we tended to some of those social emotional needs that students may have, and that may prompt them to act in a specific way in silence behind a computer. And so I think that was one of the most effective things that we could do. It all starts with school culture. It all starts with how you're building relationships in your school building or not. And if you're not, you can expect for cyberbullying to be a very big thing.
Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. Maybe another question from the audience.
Good morning, dear colleagues and guests of our summit. I'm an English teacher from Pavlodar. My name is Ainura. I have just one question. How does artificial intelligence impact learning today? Thank you.
Well, I'll go ahead and answer that. I just came out of teaching summer school, and of course, summer school is for the students who did not do well throughout the whole school year, and now they only have just a short time to just pack everything in, and they become overwhelmed and they become stressed, and the first thing that they do is they go to ChatGPT or find other means of cheating. And our students, honestly, don't cheat very well. And when you create an environment where you have relationships with your students and you also know what their capabilities are and their levels of language, it's easy to know what is their work and what's not their work. So one of the best things to do is build relationship with your students, create authentic assessment that tells you exactly what they're capable of doing. And create a school environment where students feel like they can ask for help, build those structures of support in the school where students have a writing center. I know at our school we had like math session. So during advisory, there's a specific teacher who says, okay, I'm going to create like a small math academy. And he recruited other high school students in higher grades to tutor the students who are in 9th grade and 10th grade who are having challenges in algebra. And they go into the cafeteria and they all go in there and they support each other. So when you create an environment and build in those levels of support, teach students to be ethical as well in your classroom. Teach them what it means to be honest, because some of them, they've never had that. So whatever your expectations are for learning and whatever expectations you want for your students to exhibit, you have to teach that to them and also find ways of enforcing it. And also just let them know that in the real world, when they're not honest or when they break ethical laws, there are real consequences. So build those things in. Okay, I did.
Thank you so much.
I just want to add to what Kishia said, and she rightly mentioned that ethical use of technology and artificial intelligence might be the best possible scenario that we need to teach our students in what way they should be using any kind of a technology. But here I would like to mention one statement or make statement like any technology will not replace a teacher, right? We were in the era of like artificial intelligence, we were in the era of 3G, 4G, and a lot of buzz was happening when the computers were introduced first time, and it was said now computer will replace generation of youth, but it didn't happen. In the same manner, AI will not replace teachers, or teachers will not getting replaced by this, but teachers. I'm not just finished my statement. Technology will not replace the teachers. That's true, but teaches those who are using technology may replace those who are not using it, right? So students might have opportunity and chance to learn from a teacher who uses technology more ethical way, much better way, and the teacher who is not using technology and just teaching in traditional way. So that's might have the opportunity or maybe the option for students to learn from a teacher who is using in better way. So we need to talk about artificial intelligence, how it is going to impact learning of students. It might have, we don't know yet because we are just in the initial phase of that artificial intelligence in the classrooms. But maybe in next couple of years, I heard that some European countries right now have banned artificial intelligence using those AI and ChatGPT in the classroom. So this kind of scenarios might happen regularly. But the point that Keisha mentioned is really important, that ethical use of technology, maybe in terms of AI, that's maybe the best possible scenario to avoid our students and guide them in much better way the way they can learn from using the technology.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just want to comment on the two things about cyberbullying and the artificial intelligence. In our literature, we have words related to upbringing and education, whereas in international documents, you will not see it. It's mostly about holistic education. It's just one word, which is education, which actually has everything inside of it. So, I mean, if I have a right, I think we need to more move to the holistic education where we do not actually divide upbringing and education. It's all actually about one thing. And in terms of the cyberbullying and artificial intelligence, school should have clear practices, clear standards about what is cyberbullying, what should we do, and everyone, and also about the honesty, academic honesty policy or whatever. And it should be very clear to everyone, to teachers, students, parents, community, and everyone should have common understanding what it is like and what is the school's position about that. If you want to be in that community, please follow the rules. If you don't want to do that, you are not part of the school. As a teacher, you are not part of the school. As a student, I know that it is obligatory education, compulsory one, but as a school, as a principal, we can move those things forward and we can position our attitude towards that, and we need to move that. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will bring to the totally unexpected results. And moreover, I would like to say we always talk about artificial intelligence, whereas about 40% of the children of our country are located in the rural areas and remote areas. They don't have access to internet. They don't have mobile phones. So let's do the small practice, small things that can really work, rather than talk about things. But I know that maybe the community here is a little bit more with the different environments, but still, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for participating in this plenary session, for sharing your insights, knowledge and thoughts with the audience and with us. Thank you again. Дорогие друзья, давайте поаплодируем нашим уважаемым экспертам. Они поделились такими замечательными идеями и знаниями. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Давайте проводим со сцены под аплодисменты, под бурные аплодисменты наших экспертов. Дорогие участники, учителя, перед тем, как мы прервемся с вами на обед, который продлится до 13:30, я хотела бы напомнить, что наш зал, как вначале было сказано, нашего сегодняшнего мероприятия, превратится в 3 сцены. То есть главная сцена будет находиться здесь и 2 сцены позади вас. Поэтому, пожалуйста, не забудьте свои вещи в этом зале, и мы просим вас, пожалуйста, всех пройти на обед, чтобы освободить этот зал, и мы могли трансформировать его в 3 потрясающие сцены. На каждой из них будут выступать спикеры, и затем будет сессия вопросов и ответов. И не забудьте, пожалуйста, наушники. Спасибо большое, ждем вас всех в 13:30.